Did you let people in the Zoom? So we're good to go?
Waiting on people.
Okay. I guess we can get started. So is that okay, Artem? Good to get started? Okay, awesome. Well, thanks everyone for being here today. So my name is Hannah and I'm from Community Living Toronto. My role is a community engagement coordinator. So we do lots of stuff, but part of our job is, going out in the community, connecting with families, and talking about the services that we offer here at Community Living Toronto. I'm able to provide general information and try my best to answer your questions, but I may connect you with, more specific folks at Community Living that could answer your question or support with a service or whatnot. So part of what I do is oversee membership at Community Living Toronto. So members are people who donate to us, and if you're a member, you get to volunteer with us. You get to volunteer on some of our parent councils and community councils, as well as our board of directors. And the community councils, they do various initiatives throughout the year that support the work that we do at Community Living Toronto, so different programs, everything like that. I support with, events. I support with our membership and information line. So this is a line where the general community can call in, and we support families with service navigation, or if you have a question, we'll connect you with the right person if we can't answer it. And so this is a little agenda about some of the stuff that we're going to cover today. So I'm just going to provide some general information about our services, about membership, community engagement, some external resources that may be of interest as well. So a little bit about Community Living Toronto. So we support people of all ages with an intellectual or developmental disability, and we foster inclusive community by supporting the rights and choices of people with an intellectual disability. We support over 4,000 people across Toronto every year. So this is the list of the children's services that we offer at Community Living Toronto. And I'm just going to give a brief overview of kind of what those look like. Okay, so for early childhood services, this is a service that is offered by early childhood consultants at Community Living Toronto. That takes place, the support takes place within childcare settings. So what the early childhood consultants do is they promote inclusive practices. They support, if a child is experiencing some atypical behaviors, or there's any issues with inclusion within the childcare setting, they want to support both the center, the family, and the individual in ensuring that they are being included and that they are able to access belonging in the center. So the early childhood services falls under the Every Child Belongs matter, and their goal is really making sure that families, children, and the workers in the daycare are being able to work together and support the child, and that they're being included in the setting. And so this could look like, a variety of things based on the situation, but usually they may do an observation. They may provide support directly. They may, work on building capacity within the child care centers. So, that the early childhood educators are learning from, these experiences and being able to use these situations and the skills learned to ensure that the daycare is being inclusive. And so this program is actually funded by the City of Toronto. So if this is something you're interested in as a parent, as a caregiver, you would have to speak with the daycare center directly, and they would be able to navigate and tell you about kind of the next steps. Usually that would look like a consent form, and then they put that referral in through the City of Toronto. There's some kind of portal. So that's kind of early childhood services, just a broad overview. Next is home management. So we have home management consultants at Community Living Toronto, and they're really there to support with behaviors of concern, usually taking place within the home. So they typically don't come into schools, and they can work on a range of behaviors from like sleep, toilet training, aggression. We actually did a series recently at this school talking about some different topics of interest that the home management consultants discussed. So one of them was sleep hygiene, and really just giving general kind of techniques to support behavior, because it can be super tricky. And really what they try to implement is using the mediator model, so working with you to teach you, how to work these strategies. And, if it's not working, be there to support in figuring out an alternative route. And so the intake for this service is done through, first through myself, so you can call our line and say you're interested in home management, and you do a general intake with a community engagement coordinator like myself, and then we send you to our intake coordinator, Georgina, to do a more in-depth intake and talk more about the service, and if there's a long wait list, she may know of another service that would be able to take you quicker or would be more fitted to suit your child's needs. Next is family support coordination. So family support coordinators are working with families and individuals to provide goal-oriented supports and services to yourself and your family. So usually you would come in with some goals that you're looking to achieve, and once you've completed those goals, your file would be closed. But additional goals may come up, but they're really great in terms of connecting you to the right supports and services, supporting with advocacy, supporting with connecting you to the correct funds or funding sources. And this intake is also done through a community engagement coordinator, so we would call and do that initial intake with you. Next is children's respite. So for those of you who may not know, respite is just kind of a break for caregivers. So we have two locations located in Toronto. So we've got one in West Toronto that's called Ennerdale, and we've got one not too far from here in Scarborough called Lawson, and I've put like the major intersections there. So we've got two locations. Ennerdale is specifically for children who have a primary autism diagnosis, and respite, both these centers are for children between the ages of 2 and 17. They have the same staff to child ratio, and there's kind of a variety of activities that would go on there. So usually they offer overnight and after school respite. You can drop your child off for a weekend. If that's something of interest, if you're interested in overnight. If you're not comfortable with the overnight, you could do like a pick up and drop off type of thing. And I believe the cost right now is $15 for 24 hours. And I think if it's under 4 hours, it's $5. And if you go over the 5 but not quite the 24, I think you're still paying the full rate, the $15. But you would have to double check with our respite folks about that. In terms of how you would access this service, so you would need to call either one of the locations that you're interested in. Maybe you live close to here, so Lawson might be a good option for you. You would do a tour, you would meet the staff, your child could come with you, kind of see the space, what's happening there, ask any questions you may have, and once you've decided that you're comfortable with that space and you'd like your child to have respite there, you would go through kind of an intake process with the respite folks. So I believe this is like an intake package, and I believe a medical as well. And then once that's done, you book through a booking system, and I believe you can get up to 24 days a year of respite. And then you can only receive respite at one location. So I don't think you can do both, just the one. After school overnight. And there is the contact information. I also have it over there on the table, a little pamphlet that has a little bit more information and the phone numbers to contact to arrange a tour. Another service that we offer here at Community Living is educational supports. So we have Tracy O'Regan, who does our educational consultations. And what this looks like is, scheduling an appointment with her, having a one-to-one meeting, discussing any concerns. This could be, talking about an IEP, or if there's issues with one that's already established, or kind of getting one for your child, anything advocacy related. So she's happy to support or attend meetings with you. There can be a lot of confusing policies and procedures, and she's happy to kind of work with you and help you understand those a bit better. And she's also open to doing presentations. But really, concerns that you're having with your child who has an intellectual disability in the school, she's someone you could come to for some support. And so she doesn't do like case management, but you book your appointment, you kind of have that initial talk and discuss any concerns and kind of make a plan from there. And her contact is right on the bottom there. And she prefers to be contacted through email. So if you want to get that from me after, or you can take it down now. So we also have a summer camp at Community Living Toronto called Shadow Lake Centre. It is located in Stouffville, which is a little bit outside of Toronto. But it's such an amazing place. Myself, Artem, we've had the pleasure of being able to go there for some different stuff. And, it's basically, it's a camp, and it provides a chance for people with an intellectual disability to experience camp with the right supports in place and some adapted activities, which is awesome. We have varying staff support ratios. So of course, depending on your child's level of need, you can do 1-to-1, 1-to-2. I think it goes up to 1-to-5, I believe. And for this summer, there is still some spots left, and you would register on My Community Hub. So this is a registration platform for different services within the developmental services sector. A lot of our stuff goes up on there. So cool to check out if you're interested in any programs. Community engagement. So this falls under kind of our team and our portfolio of community engagement. So we offer a few different things through here. So one of the things that we offer is called SIB Shops. So this is targeted towards siblings of individuals with an intellectual disability. So we know that, having a child with an intellectual disability affects everybody differently, and sometimes with siblings, they can often feel left out or not really understand what's going on, feeling isolated. And this is really a day to come together with other siblings in kind of a fun and interactive environment where they're meeting other siblings who can understand what they're going through while doing it kind of in a fun way. So we are planning to do some sessions kind of in fall, winter. So if that's something of interest to you, I would recommend just reaching out to me directly. We don't have those dates yet. We also provide information and education, so doing things such as presentations. We also have a monthly speaker series at Community Living Toronto. So we have different folks come in from different areas and discuss different topics. So last month we actually did have a session on from our early childhood team. So they talked about, what does early childhood offer? What does that look like? Really answering any specific questions. What do early childhood educators do? And we've had some on microboards, we've had some on, caregiver burnout, really great topics. And, if there's ever a topic of interest to you and you'd like to put it out there, you can let us know. Next month, we actually have one on Navigating Developmental Services Ontario. So, if you have, an adult child with an intellectual disability, or even they're a bit younger, it's good to know because Developmental Services Ontario is basically the access point for adult developmental services. And we also provide membership and information support. So as I was saying before, we run the information and membership line, supporting and helping parents and caregivers. We also have a few parent and caregiver support groups. So We have a mums group, so they meet in the spring usually for a couple sessions. This is free to join, and you're really just being connected with other mothers of any age who have a child of any age with an intellectual disability, and really just connecting with people, sharing resources, sharing your experiences. And we actually do a mums retreat at Shadow Lake each kind of spring, fall, kind of depends. This year it's in the fall. And there's a picture of some of our mums at Shadow Lake at one of our retreats. So super awesome. We also have a new dads group. So that's another resource we have. And we also have a general parent share group. So these are just 3 different kind of support groups that we do have. Awesome. So kind of as I was saying before, so talking about some transitional information, so at age 18, services and supports for people with an intellectual disability are centralized and have to be approved by Developmental Services Ontario. And we recommend that you start the process when they turn age 16, so you can start getting ready, looking at the eligibility, looking at those requirements. So there's a few kind of steps that you have to get ready for your application. So usually there has to be a psychological assessment that shows that the individual has an intellectual disability, and there has to be comment on their area of, I think, cognitive functioning, and then as well as their ability to carry out everyday tasks. 18 months before your child's 18th birthday, it's great to just get an application in there. For a lot of services, there is long wait lists, so just depending, and I shouldn't say wait list, but basically they intake services by the need, the level of need, so that's where it can take a little bit of time. And then in terms of the Ontario Disability Support Program, so this is income assistance that you can get when your child turns 18. They also provide, various employment support, so supporting with resume, supporting your child and finding a job. And we recommend applying 6 months before their 18th birthday. And
We have
a couple of questions, yeah.
Yeah, so Amanda is asking for home management. How long is the block of services? What are the eligibility criteria, and how long is the wait list?
So I can't comment on how long the wait list would be. And as well, in terms of eligibility, so your child would need to have a diagnosis of an intellectual or developmental disability. In terms of the time block of how long that service would be, I think it really depends on the level of need, as well as, the plan that's determined by the home management consultants as well. But yeah, sorry, I can't comment on the wait list specifically. I know there is a bit of a wait for it right now, but what we can do is look at other options if that's something that you're interested in, something that could be quicker. Another question?
How recent does the psychological assessment?
That's a tricky one. I'm honestly not sure how recent it has to be. I think it can be from when, if there's, you have an assessment from the first time they were diagnosed, I think that would be okay, but that would be a question you would have to ask directly to DSO. I'm not exactly sure, but these are all the things that are important, and making sure you give yourself enough time to prepare. That's why they suggest the 2 years, because you could run into something like that where they say, you know what, this assessment's great, but it's missing this specific information. And if you go on their website, if you just look up DSO eligibility requirements, it'll give you all that specific information. I don't know if there's anything about the date, so I think you'd have to inquire specifically, but it tells you what needs to be on there. And I think as long as, I don't think the date would matter as long as that information is there, and the age of onset information is there. Yeah. Is there any other? No. Okay. Do you guys have any questions at this point? Well, we can get to questions at the end, but if there's any burning at this point, okay. All right, awesome. So I wanted to bring everybody's attention to connectability.ca. So if you're not aware of Connectability, this is basically a website and a virtual community that has different resources and support for people with an intellectual disability and their families. So this is accessible. You can just look it up right away, and there's a ton of great information on there. We've got information for kids, youth, adults, seniors, so really all kind of different stages. And, it talks about different programs. It talks about, finances, budgeting. If you wanted more information about the DSO process, there is information on the DSO process there. If there's information about behaviors, there's different resource directories, transition, there's a lot of really great stuff on there. So I would recommend checking that out for sure. Yes?
Both of my kids are autistic.
Yeah.
Is there information about that?
For sure, yeah. So
my son is having difficulty pooing in the toilet. He can only pee, but he's not pooing. And my daughter, she knows the concept of the potty, but she won't go.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I'm issuing about with autistic children, but potty training. And
For
my
sure.
son's 8 years old, and I'm still dressing him. He knows how to get himself dressed, but he just doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, no.
I can't deal with it.
Of course. So I'm sorry to hear. That must be frustrating. But I think this would be something that would fall under home management. So really looking at kind of behaviors that are occurring, like the toilet training and just general dressing. So I think this is definitely something that our home management consultants could support with. Okay. So maybe we could talk about that just after the session, just about doing the intake and everything. But I think that would be helpful. But there is resources on that kind of stuff, like behavior. There may be stuff on toilet training. Yeah.
His behavior, I'll tell him to do something, and he'll literally scream at me. And I have to I have to tell him to do it multiple times until he does. And he, in order for him to calm down, he rocks. I know it's a part of his autism, but I give him his tablet, but I don't want him to be on his tablet all the time.
For sure.
And then his sister does it. So when he starts acting up, she acts up, and I don't know.
No, for sure. And I know, if you do decide to, get the home management services, in the meantime, Connectability, we did some recorded sessions about behavior management and techniques to manage behavior that are recorded on this website that actually may be helpful for you to check out, because it just has some general, backed, researched behavior management strategies that may work for you in the meantime to try. So there's definitely resources on Connectability, and it's a really great website as well. So we can chat a little bit more after. But yeah, a lot of great resources on here. There's also a search bar, so if you're looking for something super specific, you can just type it in there. And yeah, there's really a lot of great information. We're currently working on revamping the website and trying to make it a little bit more user-friendly, but really great information on there. Okay, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about membership. So this is something under the community engagement portfolio. I think I talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but it's great if you do become a member of Community Living Toronto. There's a lot of different perks. So, you're connected with us. You're going to get, weekly information, what's going on at Community Living Toronto, community events, any sessions from the community engagement team, information about parent support groups, kind of different stuff that we're doing there. And the different information sessions. It also allows you to volunteer on our board of directors, on our community councils, and as well, it is donation based. So, but you can give any amount. You give $5, $50, whatever you're comfortable with. And at the end of the day, you're supporting our mission to, support the rights and choices of people with an intellectual disability, which is always awesome. So I think membership is important. You're being connected, and you're really up to date on all the information, and there's a few great perks. So if you're interested, we could sign you up today, and as well, if you just go on our website, cltoronto.ca. I thought I highlighted it, but there's a section here that says become a member, and it will walk you through the process. Okay, I'm going to get into a few external resources. So first is the welcome policy from the City of Toronto. So this is a recreation fee subsidy to support with access to recreation programs. As well, adapted and inclusive services for the City of Toronto. So they may have some programs, camps available for children with intellectual disabilities, youth that are more adapted or have more support staff, as well as the Access To card. So this is a free admission for support persons to various events and venues. So the venue does have to be a participating sponsor in this program, but it's really great. I think there's some big ones like Ripley's, the Markham Fair. There's a few different ones. It will say on their website, as well as the TTC support person assistance card. So this person would get a free fare riding on the TTC, accompanying someone who needs support. So that's also a great one. But these are just kind of general, just so you know. I may not be able to answer all your questions about these ones, but just, for your information. And then these are a few external funding sources that I'm sure lots of people are aware of, but just to make sure people are aware. So the first one is specialized services at home. So this is an annual amount of funding that can help you with costs related to, personal growth, programs, respite, physical development. So, if you were interested in our respite services or Shadow Lake, this funding can be used to help offset the cost of those. The funding does stop at 18 years of age and is usually replaced by passport funding. So this is really kind of a reiteration of this, but for adults. So passport funding you can use for different programs and respite as well when you are an adult. The Ontario Autism Program, so of course this is for children with autism, and they do need to have a diagnosis to be eligible for the program. There's different supports and services through this program, and I think there's also a one-time funding that's you put in an application for a yearly basis. We do have funding at Community Living Toronto, but these are more like on a limited basis and kind of once you've explored, other options and exhausted, your options, and you're kind of looking for other opportunities. So we have 2 there. And then this is just some contact information. As I was saying, we do have an information and membership line. So if you have questions about our services or, general inquiries, that is the number that you could call. We also have an email. And then there is my contact, both phone number and email there. And I appreciate you guys listening. I know it's kind of hard to listen to someone just blab on and it's information overload, but I'm here to support, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to help try to answer those. So thank you. Do you guys have any questions here? Yes.
Just one. The home management program.
Yeah.
Up to what age?
Up to what age? I believe it's 17.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
So we have one question in the chat. Nisa is asking, any word on the current wait times of OAP? We've been on the wait list for over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on the wait list for 2 years.
Okay, and another mother is saying she's also been on the wait list for 2 years, and I also know another parent who has also been on the wait list for I think about 1.5 years. So I personally cannot comment on those wait times. That would be something that you would have to.
It's a waiting.
Yeah.
I call
Yeah.
it. It says a wait because a lot of families are still waiting, and I've been
course.
on for 2 years.
Yes.
For both
Yeah.
my kids.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and if you couldn't hear, another mother was saying she's been waiting for almost 2 years. So yeah, I can't comment on that process, unfortunately, the waiting list for that one. Any other Zoom questions? No? Any other questions here? Yeah.
Can I see the number for the membership?
Yes, for sure. So you can, yeah, this is there. I have
Do you have the one for the home?
the home management. We would do that. It's this number, but I can also support you with that as well. I have my card here. I think we're ending a little bit early, but that's okay. Oh yes.
Were you sending the PowerPoint?
I definitely can. I can definitely share the PowerPoint. I'll send it out to everyone who attended or registered. Doesn't really matter. And we'll also be recording this session, and it will be available on Connectability. And then I would definitely recommend to view some of the sessions we've had before, talking about behavior, talking about sleep. That could be really helpful for you.
Sleep is actually another issue with my daughter. Like, I'll put her in her, she shares with her brother, and I'll put her in her bed, and she'll sleep. But then about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, she comes into my bed.
Yeah.
She sleeps in my bed. Sometimes she'll sleep in her own bed through the night. Most of the time she won't.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. My son did it before, but it's getting to the point where I'm having restless sleep because she moves all.
For sure.
She moves around a lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes she'll have a screaming match. Like she'll scream non-stop for like 2 hours. She's done it before in the past.
Yeah.
But I don't know why she does that. Maybe it's because of her behavior. She's autistic. I don't know. But my son never did that. He never screamed in the middle of the night.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, everybody has, different varying kind of behaviors and everything like that. But I think that's definitely something that the home management consultants can support with, because I think that's something that's seen quite a bit, is the co-sleeping and then not being able to kind of break that pattern. So yeah, I think we can chat about that a little bit. Any other questions before we close out the Zoom?
So we do have a comment from Georgina.
Yes.
Who's a community support coordinator.
Yes.
And she wants to confirm that home management will service until 21 at this time.
Thank you so much, Georgina. So service till 21, sorry. Thank you so much, Georgina.
Okay, and we do have a couple more questions. The family service coordinator is different from CSP.
I'm not sure, what is a CSP, if they can just put in the chat. Maybe we'll come back to that one.
Sure, and Nisa again is asking, could we, so after this meeting, share any links on affordable summer programs in the West End?
Sure. Can you take down her email?
Yes.
And then I'll just send that to her directly, maybe? Yeah, either screenshot or something. I don't know if I'll be able to comment on that other question about the CSP. I don't know, Georgina, if you know what that is, if you're watching. I won't be able to comment on that one, though, unfortunately.
Another thing, just going to clarify about toilet training. We're having some difficulty and would need one-on-one support, but cannot afford the funding. Do you have any other resources for us?
So, again, I think the toilet training falls under the behavior, so I think that would fall under the support of the home management team. But in terms of direct support, I don't know kind of how helpful they could be there, but I think having a discussion with them might be helpful, as well as checking out those connectability resources and the sessions we've had before, because that was something that a few parents had concerns about and something that was talked about. So I'm happy. I can also, when I share the link to this, share the links to the previous recordings that we've had on behavior management.
And the CSP is actually the coordinated service plan and intake through the CERT.
I wouldn't be able to comment on that, unfortunately, unless Georgina, you know that one. but home management is really about, like, it's kind of under the realm of behavior interventions and therapy. So they're using, techniques, BCBA techniques and ABA techniques to try to support with behaviors, basically.
Looks like we have a final question. Do you have to have OHIP, Ontario Health, to receive support through CLTO?
I believe you would. I'm not honestly entirely sure. If you can screenshot their email and I can get back to them about that, that would be awesome.
Oh, this is an anonymous attendee.
Oh.
So, registrant with a question about the OHIP, could you please send us your email so we can get back to you later after this meeting?
You can go ahead, sorry.
So the home management services, is there a cost attached to that?
Nope, so it's a free service. So it is funded, a funded service, but again, that's why there may be a longer wait for the service. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, OHIP is actually not needed to be serviced.
Perfect, thank you, thank you. Was that Georgina? Yes, thank you, Georgina, thank you. Awesome. Okay. Did the person give you the email or no?
Oh, the question was about the OHIP.
Oh, yes, sorry, yes. Okay, awesome. Okay, well, if you have any other questions, my information is here to reach out. And thank you so much for attending, everyone.